Hello, everybody. This is your host, Cage.
And I am your other host, Adam.
And welcome to another exciting episode of Basically Wizards. Roku!
Another exciting start to another exciting episode.
Oh yeah, so we do have bad news right out of the gate. So today's episode was actually originally going to be about philosophy, but unfortunately, Sisyphus last week got the rock to the top of the hill.
It's true. It broke all of our plans. We would have gotten this episode out weeks, maybe even months ago if this hadn't happened. We've just been kind of reeling from that revelation. Kind of, throws out a lot of ideas about humanity just right out of the gate. So we'll have to take a while to reconvene about that.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not like a philosophy major or philosophy teacher, because they're all like scattering around to find new jobs, because yeah, their career has no purpose anymore. Sisyphus got the rock to the top of the hill, so wah.
Yep, very unfortunate. But in brighter news, we are talking about Pikmin 4 today.
Yes.
That's hopefully all you disgruntled philosophy majors can take solace in the fact that along with Sisyphus getting the rock to the top of the hill, Miyamoto finally got Pikmin 4 to the top of the hill as well, somehow.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're getting ready to talk about that.
Yes, indeed. Also, another cool news thing is, so I don't know if any of you other Koopas have been like watching the news a little bit, like watching some of the headlines, but lots of new Switch stuff seems to be popping up all over the place.
That is true.
You kind of noticed that, Adam?
I have noticed that. We've had rumor cycles go around before, but everything is looking pretty in favor of the next Nintendo console coming up soon. So we'll have to just keep our eyes peeled.
Yep, it's looking like mid-2024 is kind of what a lot of them are saying, which I think sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's reminding me a lot of like the Nintendo NX phase, when like everybody was talking about the NX, except this time they're calling it the Switch 2 instead of the Switch 4, which is what it'll actually be called.
Yeah, they're off on one crucial detail, but other than that, I'm thinking these rumors are seeming pretty credible. So I guess we'll have to just wait it out and see.
Right. Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see how this new console looks, because I feel like, for just the sake of rebranding, they're going to need to make the Joy-Cons look a little bit different. Because I worry that if the Joy-Cons look exactly the same, then people are going to get confused and think it's a normal Switch. So I almost have, like, worries about them making some sort of gimmicky controller that goes with it, or making the Joy-Cons, like, all weird-shaped or something. But
yeah, I mean, to be honest, all I want is just, controllers that function. So as long as they change it in a way that makes them work better than Joy-Cons, I'm on board. So I'm not too worried about it, unless they, my only worry is, again, if they were just basically like the next system was compatible with Joy-Cons, so they just kept making Joy-Cons exactly the same. That's my only fear. Any change from here is probably going to be a good change. So yeah,
I think so. I honestly kind of hope that the Pro Controller from the Switch is compatible with whatever it is. Probably won't be, but...
You don't think so? I don't know. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be.
Yeah, and I don't either, but like, I feel like where it's a new console, Nintendo's going to just be like, oh, new console, new controller. But
yeah, that's fair.
Buy this new Pro Controller that's exactly the same as the old one, but has a Switch 2 logo on it instead or something. So
yeah, it's not out of the question. So I guess we'll wait and see on that.
But it'll just be a matter of time till probably like some off-brand tech companies hit the market where you can buy like adapters and stuff. So
yep, makes sense.
Who knows? But yeah, I think I prefer the Pro Controller over any controller, honestly, when I got thinking about it.
Oh yeah,
because
me too.
I was kind of debating on if I liked my Pro Controller or my Xbox Series S controller better. But there's kind of three reasons I still prefer the Switch Pro Controller, and one is for the HD rumble, which isn't really a huge thing, but it's still nice nice enough that you notice the difference when you go back to playing like Elden Ring on the Xbox and go back to the old like stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then the built-in charging is another big thing instead of having to like swap out the battery packs. But my biggest gripe with the Xbox Series S controller is for whatever reason the L stick is positioned in just a way that whenever I'm walking forward, I like can't keep my thumb on the stick. I have to like push it from the bottom to move forward.
Right.
Which might seem nitpicky, but like when you're doing that constantly, it just I don't know, there's a couple times where it kind of slips me up if I'm like walking forward and need to like hurry and turn backwards. Like I don't know, maybe and it's not like I have small hands. I would say I have above average sized hands, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't work with that one, but I can pretty comfortably just hold the L stick regularly on the Pro controller. Along with the D-pad is nice too.
Yeah, it's true. So. Yeah, I haven't really had huge issues with the Xbox controller, but I definitely do prefer the Switch Pro controller. But yeah.
Nice. All right, and one last thing before we dive into our discussion of Pikmin 4, we have our Random Rambles segment today.
Yes, we do. I wanted to quickly talk about one of my creative projects. I am writing a book, and I'm doing a series on TikTok. I'm not the biggest fan of TikTok as far as watching it, but it is nice to use as like a platform to upload stuff. I've gotten a lot of support already, which was very surprising as someone who had tried many creative endeavors and gotten absolutely like zero attention for it, which is fine. Right. But it's been nice to have people kind of watching and commenting and stuff. So yeah, if you're listening to this podcast and you want to hear a little bit more about what I've got going on over there, you can find me. It's just called Soul Official Updates on TikTok, and that's SOLE Soul. That's the name of the book. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit about it here. It's like a post-apocalypse story, starring there's a girl who kind of gets trapped in this rock and held in like stasis for millions and millions of years, and then is led out to an Earth that has grown technologically advanced and then collapsed and got destroyed, reclaimed by nature, and now she's basically on an Earth that is essentially a different planet with different animals and different challenges, and she is completely alone, so she has to survive and deal with the existential crisis of all that entails. So if that sounds interesting to you, go over to my TikTok's Soul Official Updates and give it a watch, and stay tuned for when the book is hopefully released eventually. I'm like 10 chapters in. So I've got a long way to go, but it'd be nice if you came along for the ride. So yeah.
Heck yeah. Yep, and I've got to have a little bit of a sneak peek at some of what's been written so far, and yeah, I can attest that it's very good. So definitely be sure to check that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I have not been writing a book at the moment, but what I have been doing is playing Oracle of Seasons. Had to remember which one I was playing.
Yeah.
But just to quickly talk about that, they just added it to Switch Online. I'm not sure if you have to have like the premium membership or not to go get that, but man, these games are fun. I'm surprised they're not talked about more often, honestly, because like when you hear Zelda fans bringing up their favorite games, it's just always Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, and they just kind of like shuffle around those and occasionally throw in like some Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, but like I never hear these games get talked about, and they're really fun.
Yeah.
And it's got a cool gimmick where so each of these games are like their full like a full game in of themselves, a full Zelda game. They have like their own unique identities and mechanics, even though they operate kind of on the base system for things like physics and sprites and assets. But yeah, they're two separate games, but you get to choose which order you play them in. And then at the end of beating the game of your choice, you're given a password, and you put that password in when you start up your save file on the other one, and it'll actually change the story a little bit based on which one you played first. And then if you beat both of them, you get to go play an entire bonus dungeon and go fight Ganon. So it's pretty cool. I just beat Oracle of Seasons today, and yeah, at the end of the game gave me that password, and it's like, oh, you like dungeons, huh? Well, buddy, if you want to play another dungeon, gotta go beat the other one, otherwise you don't get it.
That is cool. Yeah, I actually didn't even know that. That's neat. Give those a try. But I think it's time that we get into Pikmin 4 discussion.
Oh, yes.
It is time. This game has been a long, long time coming.
Yep.
How long has it been? Hasn't it been around 10 years since Pikmin 3?
I think so. If I remember right, Pikmin 3 released in 2013, and then they had like the Pikmin 3 Deluxe for the Switch in 2020, but like that wasn't really a new Pikmin game aside from like some of the little side missions and stuff.
Yep, so it has been pretty much a decade since the last game. So many big Pikmin fans have been waiting a long time for this one. I thought first we'd discuss a little bit about our history with the series. So for me personally, I would definitely wouldn't consider myself a huge Pikmin aficionado or a big fan before now. I played a good amount of 3. Something got me sidetracked. And I never got around to beating it, unfortunately, but I did like a lot what I played. And after playing Pikmin 4, I definitely will go back and play 3, and hopefully I'll be able to buy 1 and 2 soon as well. So I'm not a super big Pikmin fan. I really like the YouTuber Arlo, who is a really big Pikmin fan, so I do know a good amount about it just through cultural osmosis from people on the internet who really love the series. That's kind of where I'm coming from with this game.
Nice. Yeah, I've had kind of a weird relationship with Pikmin a little bit too. So I picked up Pikmin 3 Deluxe when that first hit the Switch. I'd never played any of the others before that, and for whatever reason it didn't really click with me. Like, it was fun, I had a good time, but it was just kind of like, any other game. I beat it and I was like, nice game, and then didn't really touch it for a while. But for whatever reason, it was probably around like January, February, somewhere in there this year, and I was like, I should play Pikmin 3 again. And this time it worked. I don't know what I did different, but this time it just like clicked really well. Maybe it's because I did ultra spicy mode, and maybe it was just that little extra bit of difficulty that I needed or something like that. But yeah, I just kind of fell in love. And I don't remember if Pikmin 4 was announced or released yet at that time, but whether it was or wasn't, I pre-ordered Pikmin 4 as soon as I had the opportunity, just because that second playthrough re-sparked that love for me. So
I remember always loving the idea of Pikmin. Like I remember when I had my Wii U, I really wanted to get 3 when it came out. And I was at the stage where I was begging my parents to get it for me, and they just never did. So I probably would have been a bigger fan if they would have gotten 3 for me at that time. I'm sure I would have loved it. So I do have that relation to it as well, of just like kind of always really thinking the idea was cool, even when way back then, when 10 years ago when Pikmin 3 came out.
Right, and Pikmin games are kind of interesting because the target audience is a little bit blurry, because it's like the aesthetic of these games makes it seem like they should be like more of kids' games, kind of like the Kirby or Yoshi games a little bit. But then when you actually play these games, they can be pretty darn tough.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, like the Pikmin are adorable. They're very marketable. It feels like a cozy, cute game. I think a lot of people thought it was like a farming type game because it's like, oh, you're farming, but they're little like creatures. But then you use those creatures for war and they die, and like it's kind of brutal in a lot of ways. So yeah, it always has been a very niche series because of that. That it hasn't really fit in with any particular widely marketable group.
Right. But yeah, the base gameplay of Pikmin is just super solid in general. The idea is that you have basically these big maps, and then you have a bunch of these little Pikmin, and it kind of combines like real time action games with strategy games and with kind of a twist. And the game is all about multitasking because you have 100 of these little soldiers that could kind of just do their own thing. So you can send some to go pick up fruit and carry it back to your base. You can send some out to go fight a bad guy. You want to try to throw them at the right, like, weak spots of different enemies and move around them. You want to try to be as efficient with your time as possible, move materials around to build bridges. Like, certain types of Pikmin are more effective against other enemies. Certain types of Pikmin can only go on certain terrain. Like, you have blue Pikmin that can go in the water, yellow Pikmin that can be thrown higher. And then you get some more throughout the series, like fairy Pikmin, which can fly with stuff, and rock Pikmin, which can break things and not be crushed when they're stepped on by a giant enemy. So it's just really cool because it's all about just managing and optimizing your time, but then it also has this aesthetic that simultaneously relaxes you. And it feels like it should clash with those two things, but it doesn't. It somehow just works really well.
Yeah, it's true. They've really created a very cohesive vibe. Like it's a game that has a really established sort of mood and feeling that it doesn't really clash at all. It all feels very very confident in itself. I guess
Right.
would be a good way to put it.
Yep, and then so Pikmin 1 and 2 were kind of a little bit different because Pikmin 1, the idea was you had 30 ship parts that you had to collect over the course of 30 days, if I remember right. So it was all about just trying to kind of have a race against the clock. You wanted to go clear everything out, bring these back as quick as you could, and then the game was pretty much infinitely replayable because you could just keep going back again and again trying to just match your best time. But then Pikmin 2 changed it up a little bit because you had infinite time for exploration. Like, you still had a day and night cycle. You couldn't go out exploring at nighttime, so you'd still kind of have incentive to bring stuff back to the base. But there were also caves, which were just completely centered around puzzles.
Yeah, and they were kind of procedurally generated as well, so
Right.
they would not always be identical for every player, if I remember correctly.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
So then Pikmin 3 decided to kind of do a reboot, so to speak, of Pikmin 1's gameplay style, where you basically have as much time as you need until you run out of fruit, because those Copites, they love their food, and they love it so much that they're the only ones that can starve, apparently. Either that or the other guys just are smart and bring enough food.
Yeah,
But
kind of seems like that was the implied thing, is that the Copites just didn't have like any food.
yep. But anyways, yeah, so you're kind of trying to race to go find Olimar, but then you also have to make sure you're not just focusing on Olimar, you're also focused on fighting bad guys and bringing food back to your base so that you don't starve. So it's more of the Pikmin 1 style gameplay with a twist, but then 4 kind of brings us back more to the Pikmin 2 kind of gameplay, where you've got the caves again. There's not really a time limit on exploration.
Yep.
Again, you have your day cycles, and you have to be back to your onion before night, or your Pikmin all get brutally killed by these beasts. But
yeah, unfortunately, they don't show that in 4, actually. Like, if you lose them, they just say you lost this many, which is a little bit disappointing, but whatever, I guess. Like Cage mentioned, it definitely harkens back to Pikmin 2 style of gameplay the most from what we've seen. But There's a lot here that's new. And from what I've also seen, this just seems like a perfect like intro game for
Yeah.
new people who want to get into the series, which I definitely think was the intention. Pikmin's never been the biggest series, so I'm like, it was definitely, this was designed to get people into it, and I think it does a great job at that. It definitely seems like it was the perfect Pikmin game for me to start with, because like having that timer like from Pikmin 1 and 3, that can be kind of intimidating to a lot of people. I know it definitely is for me. So having it still have that kind of that flow of needing to manage time, but not having like a giant countdown timer like you will like looming over you that makes it a really stressful experience, I think is a perfect balance for beginners who can kind of work into that that more hectic like time management is essential type of
Yeah.
gameplay. But like the design itself just incentivizes you to play in that way already, and that's what makes it so fun. But yeah, I just think this is a perfect game for. It was definitely the perfect game to get me into the series. Like I'm a big Pikmin fan now. I can say that with confidence because I've played this game and just fallen in love with the gameplay style.
Yeah, and it leaves you a good amount of option as to how you want to play too, because you can take your time a lot more if you need to, but you're always free to rush as much as you want, kind of try to emulate that Pikmin 1 experience, because it keeps track of the total amount of days that it takes you to complete. And then you get kind of this little like ranking board thing that pops up at the end, like showing how many Pikmin you've lost, how much time it took you overall, so you can kind of choose which way you go about it. And then there's also an extra mode you unlock called Olimar's Quest, which lets you go back through the first 4 areas of the game with 15 ship parts to collect. Or sorry, 30 ship parts to collect and only 15 days to do so. So if anybody's sad about the Pikmin 1 style not being there, it literally just kind of throws in that gameplay option for you, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I feel like this game totally gets to have its cake and eat it too in a lot of
Yep.
ways. I think it manages to kind of make everyone happy at the end of the day,
Yeah.
from what I've seen. But yeah, some of the big new elements for this are so obviously there is the return to dungeons, the caves. There is Ochi, who is a dog companion
Oh,
who we will
yes.
talk about in more detail because he's kind of a big deal. There is there are these Dandori battles that you do to where you have to battle another player. I mean, it's an NPC, but you'll to try and collect as many items and gather as many Pikmin and fight off the enemy, like to get more points. Those are a ton of fun. And there's Dandori challenges where you're not fighting someone else, you're just in a little mini room where you have to solve all these puzzles to try and get as much treasure as possible in a limited amount of time. I think that's probably the biggest strength of this game, is there's always something new to do and it's always fun.
Yep.
So like just being out on the overworld collecting treasure and fighting enemies and doing all that stuff is just inherently really fun. And then you come across a cave and you're like, oh, I love caves, I'm gonna jump down there, and I go through the cave and I hop back out and I'm back into the the fun of collecting things on the overworld. And then I see a leafling, which are these kind of Pikminized versions of people who you have to do these Dandori battles or Dandori challenges with. And then you're like, oh, that's so much fun, I hop in there, I do it, I hop back out, and then it's the end of the day, and then the next day I get to do it all again. Like it's just yeah, it creates just a really addictive gameplay flow where you're just moving from one thing and you run into another thing, and instead of like a worse game, those challenges would be like you'd come across a cave and you'd be like, oh, I don't want to do another cave, or
Yep.
oh, not another Dandori battle. I just want to keep playing normally. But it's always an exciting event when something like that comes around, because every single mode is super well polished that you really want to do it all.
Yeah,
you want to do everything that every level has to offer.
And this game just has so much content too, especially in comparison to the other Pikmin games. Like, I think Pikmin 3 only had 4 areas, and then this one amps it up to 6, and there are 6 very large areas, and there are tons of caves with tons of sub-levels, and you've got all your Dandori levels. And then you've also got this hub world, which is really cool, where you can do all sorts of little side quests and challenges, and Ochi's even got essentially a skill tree, and there's just so much that you can do. And then the game even has...
It's just a stuffed game.
Yeah. And then it's even got 4 endings on top of that, too. Like, you can save Olimar and get one ending, you can save Louie and get one ending, you can rescue all the castaways and get another ending, or you can even 100% it, go get every treasure, go get everything and get another ending. And there's just constantly something new to do, and it's just all fun too. None of it feels grindy or over the top. So
yeah, no, it's very cool that like you basically accomplish your main mission and there's like a whole another half of the game to go.
Yep.
And then even when you accomplish that, there's Olimar's quest that you can do. So like I just beat the game yesterday, and I haven't done Olimar's quest yet. So I'm super excited to just go and do that. And then once you beat Olimar's quest, a big cave opens up. That's this crazy challenge cave, and that's one big last challenge that you get to do. So it's just like, yeah, this game really is the gift that keeps on giving. Like, just as you think you're done, it's like, no, there's more. And then when you finish it all, it's like, this seems like it's going to be a really replayable game. Like, see how fast I can get through it. You know, like, I can guarantee this is a game that I will just keep coming back to.
And then the Trial of the Sages, which is the name of the big cave you get after Olimar's quest. It is so hard. And I'm so happy that it is. It's cool that they've given us essentially a challenge road in Pikmin. Or Champions Road. Man, that thing is like 10 levels long, and I had to retry just the first level alone like at least 6 times. So it's tough.
Yeah, no, it's and you know, the game isn't too hard. It's pretty beginner friendly, but again, it manages to have its cake and eat it too by, you know, like if you're a beginner and you rescue Olimar and you feel satisfied with that, then you're like, okay, I'm just done. That was a great game. You know, nothing more than that. If you go beyond that, all the stuff, the 2 areas after that, get pretty challenging, especially the final 20 floor dungeon where you have to just fight boss after boss. Like, it can get tough. But you know, it's doable, it's manageable. And then, you know, again, then there's that final super challenge. So, you know, it is a game that doesn't sacrifice much for making it more accessible. And one mechanic, probably the last mechanic that we haven't really touched on, is the night mode, which it's something that, from what I've heard, Pikmin fans have been wanting for a long time, because you're not allowed to stay out at night, because that's when all the creatures become really dangerous. So that idea has intrigued a lot of people, and it really paid off in this game. It's a sort of tower defense type game, type game mode, which again, like, you'd think, you know, with so many different modes of gameplay, one of them would be kind of a stinker where you're like, oh no, I have got to do another night mission. But they are so much fun. They're really addicting, to try and, you know, redo and do your best. And they also just ramp up in difficulty in a really fun way, as it goes along. But yeah, you have to defend a base with these glow Pikmin, which are these really powerful type of Pikmin, that you're only able to use at night and in caves. And they're really fun to use. You can summon to get them together in a spirit bomb attack, which is awesome, that stuns enemies. And they're like immune to all types of like effects. And yeah, so it's just fun to go against these wickedly strong creatures with these insanely strong Pikmin to try and defend your base. And sometimes you've got two bases, so you're sending your dog companion Ochi to protect one, and suddenly the music is ramping up. Oh no, they're attacking the base, you gotta get over there. Like, it becomes super intense, and yeah, honestly, a little bit frightening at times, especially because of that music. They really nailed the atmosphere of like, you are not supposed to be out here right now. Like, what are you doing?
I'm really glad too that they made it so that you can switch back and forth between playing as yourself and Ochi, not only in the night mode, but just in the game as a whole. And it makes not only for some really fun puzzles in some of the caves and some better defense strategies during the night mission, but also just during the day it can be fun if you're like, I want to try and collect, I don't know, 10 treasures in one day. You just throw 50 Pikmin over to Ochi, keep 50 for yourself, and then you split up across the map and try to see how effective you can be.
Yeah. I mean, I think now is as good a time as any to talk about Ochi. Like, what a great mechanic. I know a lot of people were kind of skeptical of him at first, but I think it's fair to say that everyone loves Ochi now. Like, he is so good. Like, he fulfills the role of being another captain, like in previous games. In Pikmin 1, it was just Olimar. In Pikmin 2, they had 2 captains. In Pikmin 3, they had 3 captains. In Pikmin 4, we're back down to 2 captains, but Ochi is, like, got the power of 3 captains in one, because they can do the normal thing that captains do, just, be a second playable character to split up and manage work, but Ochi can be upgraded to, do attack enemies like a Pikmin would, or carry like huge drops. Like, you can get him to be able to carry up to 100 Pikmins, like 100 Pikmin would need to carry an item, but instead you can just send Ochi and he'll do it by himself. Yep. Like, it's so cool to like slowly upgrade him as the game goes, and he becomes so powerful, and you rely on him like a lot. He's just such a good mechanic. Like, I don't know how they managed to nail it so much, but yeah, like, honestly, probably the best part of the whole game is just Ochi.
It really is. I mean, it gets to the point where it just feels wrong to not be riding on Ochi after a while. Like, I remember when I played through Olimar's Quest for the first little while. So a cool thing with Olimar's Quest is it only starts you out with 10 red Pikmin and a maximum ship capacity of 20 Pikmin. So you have to start over with collecting your Flarix and building up your army and getting the different types of onions and everything as you go. And I just remember for like the first 3 days of that not having Moss with me, and I was like, which is like Olimar's version of Ochi. And I was like, this just feels wrong. Like, I need Ochi to come help me with some of this stuff.
I know, It's just one of those mechanics that you're like, it's going to be hard to go back, like to some other games and be like, but where's Ochi? Like, I need to have all my Pikmin riding on him. Like, It makes you wonder, how did they do it before Ochi got invented? It's like, it's just such a good mechanic.
Yep. And then I think my favorite new thing about this game actually is the Dandori challenges. So you have your Dandori battles, which are kind of like we were talking about. You're playing against a CPU, and you're trying to like collect stuff quicker than they do. But I really like the Dandori challenges, which is just where you're given this mini cave or challenge room filled with stuff. And you just want to defeat as many enemies and bring as many things back to your base as possible within a time limit. And they just seem to find this perfect blend between like the puzzle solving parts of the cave levels, but also like the collecting stuff as efficiently as possible parts of the overworld, and it just blends it in this perfect
with that
way.
Pretty tight time limit. So it feels so good when you're able to, collect everything before the time limit.
Yep. And then there's even a multiplayer Dandori battle mode, which you can do, which I haven't actually done, but I mean, from playing against the CPUs in the game, it seems pretty darn fun.
I know. I really want to. We should definitely do it together sometime because that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, I love these battles
Yeah.
against CPUs. I bet this would be like so much fun with
Yeah.
like playing it against friends. It's already so hectic and just fun. Like I bet it would be so much fun to play with friends. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna next time we hang out, we definitely gotta give it a try and see
Oh,
who's
definitely.
better.
Yeah, no, if there's one thing that playing this game has taught me though, it's that I don't have a natural gift when it comes to Pikmin games apparently.
Oh yeah,
Cuz
me neither.
it took me a long time to finally start to get the hang of things. Like even just the
Yeah.
first area I was in, I was like just having my Pikmin massacred by like pretty basic enemies, and
Yeah.
I would get so frustrated as you'd like throw 12 Pikmin to go carry like a giant grapefruit or something, and then you'd go do another thing and then be like, wait a minute, why have I not heard the little ding ding, like where's my grapefruit at? And then you see that like some bird has just massacred all your Pikmin back
Yeah.
there, and you're like, come
Yeah.
on.
It's true. Yeah, you'll have those panic moments where you just hear the noises of them dying, and you'll be
Yep.
like, "Wait, where are they?"
Yep.
Like,
Oh man, and there's nothing better than when you get to like the last bit of the day, because it does like this little dong 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 dong, and then like the music gets more hectic, and you only have probably a combined total of about 2 minutes, and you've got to just hurry and finish all of your tasks, and then also make sure all of your Pikmin are back in your party so they don't get eaten alive, and it is just so fun, especially when
yeah,
you have like some fruit or some treasure just like feet away from the
it's
onion,
so
and
close.
you,
Yeah, you're
you're
just like,
throwing like every single one of your Pikmin at it while you see the timer counting down from 10. Like, come
yeah,
on, go faster, go faster, go faster.
yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, there's a lot of fun in that time management aspect of it. In both the day cycle and in the like the specific time challenges. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I real quick, I did kind of want to talk about the Pikmin themselves
Yeah.
for a minute. So in the original Pikmin, there was three types: red, yellow, and blue. Red are the normal ones; they're stronger than your average Pikmin. They can withstand fire. Yellows are a little weaker, but they can get thrown higher, and they're immune to electricity. Waters can go underwater. And then in 2, they added purples and whites. Whites are poisonous, and they're smaller, and they move faster. Purples are big and fat, and they're stronger, but like way slower. But they have the strength of like 10 Pikmin, so they're super useful.
Yep.
And then in 3, they added winged Pikmin, which are my personal favorite. They're really weak and pathetic, which is cute. And but they also are like super good at transporting materials because they can fly over things and fly over obstacles, so they're really helpful. And then rock Pikmins, which are Cage's favorite and probably my other favorite actually.
Yeah.
That are more like blunt force objects. Instead of like throwing Pikmin and they attach and attack something, you just chuck them at them and they ram their heads into whatever it is, and they can break like crystals and stuff. So, and then in Pikmin 4, they added glow Pikmin, which I mentioned earlier. They're a bit more gimmicky because you can use them only in caves and in night mode. And there's ice Pikmin, which are really strong.
Oh yeah.
And they can freeze enemies, which is like super overpowered in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But there is a bit of a trade-off because you don't get to collect their body, which the enemy's like corpse,
Yep.
which produces more Pikmin. They give you sap, which can make your Pikmin stronger by blossoming. So yeah, I just kind of want to have a Pikmin discussion. So what did you think of kind of their utility in this game?
I thought that they did a really good job, especially with the puzzles and the caves, just coming up with super creative ways to combine all of the Pikmin types, and having to have situations where you have to think about which ones to use in which situations, which ones not to use in which situations, and having situations where it's better, situations where you literally just can't use a certain type of Pikmin, and it just the puzzle element that they were able to create from these types just kind of blew my mind. Like
same.
after doing so many caves, you'd be like, what more can they possibly think of to do with these Pikmin? Like they've come up with every type of puzzle and gimmick and mechanic that I can possibly think of, and then you just go in another cave and they just throw something new at you, and you're just scratching your head like, how didn't I think of that? And that,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just kind of insane the amount that they were able to come up with for these
Yeah.
Pikmin.
Yeah, and I just love how they really force you to use all of them in different ways. Like, certain caves will only allow you to use certain types of Pikmin, so it really forces you to kind of see the utility in all of them.
Right.
At the beginning of the game, I feel like I mostly relied on just kind of like your basic types. Then later on, you start to get more types and you start to see the utility of others. I know mid-game I was using rock Pikmin a lot. I just loved them in combat. Then at the end of the game, they really start to show you how to use purples and white Pikmin a lot.
Yep.
It just kind of slowly adds them into your mix until you're super attached to all different types, and you know exactly what situations to use them, which ones are better for which bosses and which type of enemies. I thought it was just I know in previous games sometimes certain types weren't as balanced as others, but I feel like they balanced it pretty well as far as how useful most of them are. I feel like yellows and reds maybe kind of get phased out a little near the end, which is a little unfortunate, but that's pretty much the only one I can think of that I just didn't really use all that much near the end of the game.
Right. And it's, I don't know, they somehow managed to accomplish yet again letting you have your cake and eat it, where it's like the different Pikmin types goes beyond just being like a novelty. Kind of like how in some of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, some of the power-ups, it's like, wow, they're kind of fun to mess around with, but you don't really need them to get through. Yet this game somehow manages to make you really, really want to use them and make them super useful without ever over the top necessitating it. Like, you could theoretically choose one Pikmin type and like get through most of the game without ever having to use them much. But I don't know, just the way that it manages to incentivize it without making it required, it's ingenious, honestly.
No, I've always, I always want to use a bunch of different types. There's always a lot of utility in using a bunch of different types. I care about them. I don't want them to get eaten and die. Yep. Especially where it makes you, collect onions, which are there's an onion for every type of Pikmin, so you can sprout them from that onion. But you can get them earlier than the onion by going into caves and using these seeds, these flowers to change one type into another type. So it makes you really value, it makes you really value the types that you don't have the onion for yet. Like, especially since you don't get the white or purple onion until way, way later. Those two I'm always like super protective of, like, even if I'm not worried during a fight that I'm gonna like lose all my Pikmin, I'm really worried that I'm like, oh no, I just lost a bunch of purples, like that's gonna hurt me later. Like, so it manages to make combat pretty intense, even if you're not like, I'm worried I'm gonna lose. I'm more worried like, oh, I'm losing so many valuable Pikmin that I can't get back easily. So I feel like that's a good way that it makes combat more intense.
Nice. All right, so I guess last but not least, I want to talk about the just the atmosphere and the story for this game a little bit, since we've kind of covered a lot of the kind of the gameplay and mechanics of this game. But yeah, I've just thought Pikmin's atmosphere in general has always been really creative, because like there's a ton of games that revolve around like being out in nature, like Zelda games, for example, but this one zooms it clear in. You're in nature, but you get to see things from a new perspective. A blade of grass is as tall as a tree, and it's
Yeah.
it's just a cool way to kind of see things. And I remember after beating this game for a while, I was just like looking around my house, just like imagining what kind of challenges the Pikmin would have to go to just like get up on top of my desk or like up on top of the
Yeah.
cupboards and
No,
stoves.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, and that feeling is very much pronounced more in this game than any before it. All the other ones kind of had inklings that you were in a sort of, shrunken down version of, Earth, essentially.
Right.
But none of them have been so explicit as this one. As, like, in this one, you literally, like, go in a house, or you're in a garden, or you're at a campsite. Yeah, like, the other ones are beautiful in their own way, and kind of have a lot of those aspects, like of being shrunken down in Earth, and kind of exploring that. But I feel like visually this one takes it to the extreme, as like, this isn't like some post-apocalypse Earth. This is just Earth, and there's just no humans for some reason, basically. And it's very intriguing. Yeah, it's very intriguing and very fun.
Yeah, that's something I've kind of wondered is where the humans went. Because it's like, it doesn't seem like some sort of apocalypse happened. Because, like, in the house level, it's like a pretty neat, orderly home for the most part. Like, you'd think if there
Yeah.
was some sort of monster attack, there'd be, like, debris everywhere. But it's, like, just
No,
fine. I mean, the lights
it's
are
just
on.
kind of there.
But,
Yeah.
like, there's still, like, these little monster guys all over that people could probably just, like, step on with their foot if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But, like,
Yeah, it's just, yeah, I love that they don't explain it.
yeah.
Like that just causes it to be more intriguing. That was already a really intriguing aspect of the other
Right.
Pikmin games. Like, like in Pikmin 2, you're collecting treasures that are just like old human artifacts, like a battery or something like that. And that's the same in this one. But yeah, even more explicit. Like, it's like, I'm just walking around a house picking up, like, stuff someone left behind
Yep.
when they went to work or something. Like, it's so strange, but
You
it
can find a
really,
copy of Wave Runner for the GameCube.
yeah, it's bizarre, but it really kind of gets your imagination going, and I think the best kind of worlds, fictional worlds do that, where it's like, wow, this is just really interesting, and it doesn't, not everything is explained, but that just gets me thinking about it. So yeah, just super cool.
Yeah. Um, yeah, as far as the story goes and the lore goes, they kind of made some weird choices this time. Because, like, Olimar is kind of acting like this is his first time seeing Pikmin before, but then, like, he kind of acts like it's not at some point, and it's almost like they wanted to do like a cold reset with the story, like be like, no,
Yeah,
this is the first Pikmin game, but then they're just being like
but
so loosey goosey on it, like they can't decide
yeah,
for sure.
yeah, it's very odd. Yeah, as someone who, again, I haven't played the first or second, and I've only played a little bit of the third. Um, I'm not super obsessed with the Pikmin lore or anything, but I know what happens in those games.
Right.
Just seems very strange, because it feels like they could have just made it, like a standard sequel to 3. Like, Olimar just went on another quest, and
Yep.
something went wrong, and we had to save him. But yeah, the choice to make it sort of like a soft reboot, sort of retcon to the series, it just feels like weird, but also like kind of unnecessary for the story they wanted to tell. Like, it doesn't upset me or anything. I just can't really wrap my head around why they chose to do it the way that they
Yeah.
did.
No, yeah, and this is kind of another somewhat random thing, but I and mild spoilers here, but I was kind of hoping that at the ending they would address why so many people were just coincidentally crashing here, because like it's not just Olimar that crashes here. It's Olimar
It's
and the rescue crew
so
and the
many people.
Copites and like just a bunch of random people from all over the universe. Like you've got like some news reporters that fell here, like some real estate agents. You've got like a school that went on a field trip that crashed here. And I
Yeah.
was kind of hoping a little bit that like maybe the final boss would be like the Pikmin mothership or something, and it was like we need a master, and it's just like
Yeah.
pulling people down. But yeah, they
But
never
I
really
mean, in a
address it.
way, that kind of it adds to that leaving it up to the imagination thing
Yeah,
a little bit. So I don't totally hate it, but yeah, I do get that is an intriguing question, especially for this one
yeah,
where it's like so many people crashed here. You'd think there'd be some explanation, but yeah, I do get that.
right. Because yeah, for the first three games, it's just like oh, just one person crashed their ship. It's that happens. But in this one, where it's so many of them, you're just like,
Yeah, just everyone.
yeah,
It
something's
is
got to be
very
happening
comedic.
here.
Yeah. Yeah, what related to that, just sidebar, the writing in this game is really funny.
Yeah, it is.
Like the characters, the main characters are funny. I really love Shepard and what's the other guy's name? I forget his name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, he's like the other main guy that's talking to you. He's really funny. And then like when you rescue someone, you get a little description of who they are, and there are some really funny characters they made for it. Like there's a streamer girl, this like actor who talks about playing Nintendo characters as roles, like a real estate agent, like just a lot of really funny things. And you'd be surprised how much dialogue they have for so many of them. You can just keep talking to them, and you'll get a lot of different, unique lines of dialogue. So it's they really, again, just going above and beyond and stuffing this game full of things to do. Like I just liked hanging around the base and talking
Yeah,
to people because they made a lot of really interesting characters for no discernible reason.
right. And then Louis is everything we could have ever hoped for.
Yeah, dude, Louis is a menace,
He
and I
is.
always knew he was a menace. I hated him from moment one, and as the story unfolded, my shock and horror that not only was I right, he was even worse than I thought he was. Like, I don't want to spoil it because it's one of the funniest parts of the game, but I'll just say one thing: when you do rescue him, quote unquote. Go and read the Piclopedia entries. When you rescue him, it gives his like entries. I just sat there reading them in disgust and horror. Like, go read them. It
I
is.
don't think I ever read those. I'm gonna have to
Go
look at
read them. You gotta read them. It
All
is
right, I will.
unbelievable. It is
Dang.
literally unbelievable what he says about all of the enemies and Pikmin in the game. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I did read
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Just wants to eat everything.
Yeah, essentially. But man, it is detailed. I'll just
Yeah,
leave it at that.
indeed it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess again, as we're talking about characters, I really love the choice that they made to let you make your own character in this game.
Yeah.
I grew very attached to my character, which I wasn't expecting, and it's really fun to go on social media and see everyone's little messed up Pikmin guy, because they're not cute characters a
Yeah.
lot of the time. They're kind of weird, off kilter characters that you can make, and I think that's great. You know, in a world where you make a bunch of generically pretty or handsome character creator stuff. Be Pikmin, where you just make the weirdest, most messed up little guy imaginable, and you
Yep.
just grow very attached to him. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it was fun trying to create my own character because your thought going into any other character creator is, all right, I need to make this guy look like me. But then you're
Yeah,
like
that is
looking through the
not
options,
possible.
yeah, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
none of these are even human.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that same thing, and I was like, yeah, this. But I really liked what I came up with.
Yeah.
I got to see your character. I don't think I've ever actually seen yours.
Yeah,
You should send it to
he's
me.
kind of like a sleepy looking guy. I made him kind of look like a
Yeah.
baby a little bit. He's just kind of like,
Mine kind of looks like that too. So we'll have to see how close we ended up to each other on the character creator.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. But yeah, just that aspect of it. I enjoyed that way more than I thought I would. Yeah, just all the characters having really charming and funny dialogue, being able to create your own character. Olimar and Louis are as funny and charming as they've ever been from what I've seen. Just great character stuff, and it's not a groundbreaking story, but it's certainly an entertaining and engaging one.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I think they really nailed it in that department.
Nice. Yeah, so I guess the last thing we had is I had a list of common gripes that people have with the game, but I think we've addressed pretty much all
We've
of
hit
these
a lot
for the
of
most
them.
part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess, is there any gripes that you had with the game?
I'm really trying to think. I loved it. I really, really loved it. Way more than I even thought I would.
Right.
I think my memory of this game is always going to be, I would have some kind of sucky shifts at work. I'd be so just wiped out. And then I'd just get home and I'd just play, and it would just feel great. Right. I don't know. That was my main takeaway from it, was just, having those tough days and getting home and being just excited to play Pikmin and playing it. And then all my, my stress from the day or whatever kind of just, wiping off me and just being able to be immersed in the game and have fun. I don't know. I literally, I'm trying to think. I guess there's one. The only gripe, literally, I think the only gripe is the multiplayer being underwhelming.
Right.
Instead of having having player 2 be Ochi or another captain or something, they just kind of are this omniscient machine that throws items, you can throw rocks at enemies or
right.
throw food to distract the enemy, which is I don't know. I definitely think I would have played more with my wife if there would have been a more robust 2-player mode. But it's a 1-player game. It's okay that it's just a single-player game. I'm fine with that. So, yeah, I guess if I had to pick an issue, that would be the one. It would have been fun to have a little bit more of a robust second multiplayer experience.
Right, and I guess if you ever do want to play with somebody else, there's always the Dandori battles that you can do together. So just play through the storyline on your own and then just do that with your friends. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. And the reason...
And there's always Pikmin 3 as well, so I might play that with her, because I own it, so I need to go back and play it now, so...
Yep, and the reason I asked you about your gripes first is because I was trying to think of some, because I'm having a hard time thinking of any issues with this game.
Yeah.
The only real thing for me is that sometimes the auto-lock mechanic got a little bit annoying. Because in the other games you had a free cursor you could aim around, but in this one it just kind of locks onto stuff. But that annoyance was pretty short-lived, to be honest. After a while it just kind of got to the point where I feel like I prefer it, honestly. So
there was a couple times where it would lock onto something. I was I was trying to break something and it would lock onto sap, and I'd be no, I don't want to throw it at the sap. I want to throw it at the enemy.
But I feel like it doesn't really take away from the challenge overall, though, because your emphasis isn't really so much on aiming the cursor just right as it is on just strategy overall and time efficiency. Exactly. So I didn't feel like it hurt.
And Pikmin, from my, again, limited experience, Pikmin has always been a little janky as far as throwing Pikmin. So honestly, this is probably the most clean and mechanically polished that aspect has ever been from my understanding.
Yep. All right, so consensus overall, very good game. If you've never played a Pikmin game, then go play this one. If you have played a Pikmin game, then you already have played this one. And there's no point telling
sure
you to.
You have. So. Seriously, this is such a good game to start with from what I've seen. Clearly from my experience, it worked wonders. I think I guess one last thing is, in previous games, it's been more of a top-down perspective. In this one, it kind of puts you a little bit back. A little more traditionally behind the head type view, You can still, tilt the camera up to be a little top down like the older games, but
Right.
I feel like that also did a lot for me as a beginner, just like helping me feel more immersed and have it be like more traditional. I think helped me get into the style of gameplay a lot too. So yeah, final recommendation. Basically a perfect game from what I've done. Like, so. The fact that I literally had to sit there and struggle, like, to think of any little thing that I could say I didn't like about it. I would say this is essentially a perfect game from my view. So. I don't know. I hate to be, hyperbolic or anything, but I just can't think of anything wrong with it. Go play it. Like, seriously, it's so much fun.
But man, applause to the Nintendo Switch for what they've done with all of the series so far, man. Like, I mean, they gave us one of the best Metroid games with Metroid Dread. They gave us the best Kirby game with Forgotten Land. We got Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild. We got Mario Odyssey.
I know, yeah.
The Smash game is the best. The Mario Kart game is the best. The Splatoon game is the best. And then they just had to top it off with giving us what I would say the best Pikmin game. And although I haven't played Part 1 and 2, from what I've seen from gameplay, I feel pretty confident in saying that this is probably the best one. So.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's been cool to watch, like, pretty much every major Nintendo series get its moment. Like, like, pretty much all of them.
Except for Paper Mario.
Yeah, I mean, there's one on there. Like, it might not have been its big moment, but I don't know. But just basically all the major Nintendo series just getting like a really successful, polished new title that like people mostly love. I know some people don't like Mario Odyssey, and those people are weird. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. But yeah, it's just cool. So yeah, really excited for what the next console has in store for us. But for now, I'm just gonna keep playing Pikmin and be happy. So yeah.
Heck yeah. All right, well, we better wrap it up with a bonus question then.
Okay, it's your turn. I haven't been thinking of anything.
My turn for the bonus question.
I did it last time. You got to come up with something.
Name 3 reasons that guinea pigs are objectively the best animal.
I don't know if I agree necessarily. But if that is the bonus question, I must go along with it. Guinea pigs are, they like to hide in huts, which is funny. You can pick them up and let them run around in a hallway, and they're scared of everything, which is also pretty funny. I guess those are my 3. Also, they are funny when they drink water, because they just like, it looks like they're just biting it. Like what are they doing? You know? Oh, last bonus thing for guinea pigs. They make a really funny sound, and me and my wife do that at each other sometimes.
Nice.
So that's that. There's the real final reason. But I like cats right now because I now have one. So
nice. Let's see, my 3 reasons. They are super brave. They never get scared or frightened of anything.
Never.
They can do pretty much any trick. Like, I've taught one of them how to like read a book and do math. And they also don't make any noise at night. They never keep you awake. So
no, yeah, they wouldn't do that. They're really considerate. I wouldn't think they would ever do that. They could also totally pwn hamsters in a fight. They've got bigger teeth, so they could rip a hamster to shreds. Watch out, hamsters. Guinea pigs will take you out.
Okay, but for my 3 real answers, because all of that was for a lie, if anybody couldn't detect the sarcasm there. They are very nice to hold while you are playing games or reading a book or watching a movie. They're very warm and comfy.
Fun fact, cats are pretty good at that too. My cat has sat on my lap like the whole time I've been playing Pikmin. She comes in, she sits on my lap, and she just chills.
let's see. They are very cute, and yeah, just cute. That's an answer there.
Yeah.
Boom, got them. Other animals.
Yeah, no other animals are cute, so that's kind of a zinger.
And the third one, I love it when they pop, which is this thing they do when they're super happy, where they basically just jump in the air and wiggle their bodies around as quick as they can before landing on the floor. And
that is true.
It kind of looks like they're just having a seizure in the air, but it's funny. It's very funny. I laugh at them every day. So
I would say objectively that probably is the one thing that guinea pigs have over all other animals.
Yeah.
That seems like the most undisputable thing that you could say. No other animals but guinea pigs do this. This is where guinea pigs are the best. So I would say that's a pretty bulletproof reason right there.
Yeah, and you also have to have sympathy for them too, because like all they ever eat is dried grass and poop and feces and urine and feces and also vegetables, and yet they are incredibly obese. So like,
yeah,
it's a tough life. You got to give them all the credit that you can for just sticking it through. So
that is so true. Yeah, well, I guess we better wrap this up because I gotta go get my wife from work. So
nice. I gotta go say hi to Boo, my guinea pig.
Yeah.
Nice.
If only this was a video podcast. Someday maybe we'll do.
Hey, maybe
someday when we're together, we'll do a video version.
Heck
so we can show off both of our pets.
Yeah, it'll be the face reveal.
Yeah, that'll make views go through the roof. Absolutely.
Heck yeah, I'll wear a dream mask for my face reveal, and then be pulling the resting troll face when I take it off, so it'll be just the same.
That'll be way bigger than Dream's face reveal ever was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, gamers, it's time to wrap it up. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed our discussion. Go play Pikmin, and I love you. You specifically listening to this. I love you with a deep and fiery passion.
I love Boo, my guinea pig.
Well, that's pretty good too.
I love you.
We'll see you next time, gamers.
All right, see you, gamers. Bye.